For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. President Joe Biden is tested positive for COVID-19, canceling an event to court the Latino vote in Las Vegas Wednesday. Christopher Martinez has more.
President Joe Biden's schedule had included a series of events aimed at building support in key communities in swing states. But Wednesday morning, Biden felt poorly, and a rapid COVID test was positive. According to the White House, Biden is experiencing mild symptoms, and he's being treated with the antiviral Paxlovid. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, COVID positivity rates and hospitalizations are on the rise, especially in western states and among seniors. A recent global study found that migrants, refugees, and internally displaced persons have disproportionately high rates of COVID infection and death. The White House says the president will be working from home during his isolation. Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
Biden's COVID diagnosis comes as high-level Democrats, including Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi, Senate Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have pressured Biden to bow out of the presidential race. First reported by CNN, Pelosi in two conversations told Biden she and other Democratic lawmakers worry he's dragging down the party, is losing in the polls, and threatens to take the party's chances of wresting control from the House in November. Wednesday, California Representative Adam Schiff, who's running for Senate and is backed by Pelosi, became the highest-profile House Democrat to call for Biden to drop his re-election bid, saying while the decision is Biden's alone to make, he believes it's time to pass the torch. Biden and his campaign insist he's not backing down, adamant he's the candidate who beat Republican Donald Trump before and will do it again this year. The Democratic National Committee, meanwhile, is pushing ahead with plans for a virtual vote to formally make Biden its nominee in the first week of August, ahead of the Democratic National Convention that begins August 19th in Chicago. It's the last night of the Republican National Convention today. Donald Trump will take the stage to accept the party's presidential nominee in his first speech since an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania Saturday. Meanwhile, Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who once compared him to Hitler, delivered his acceptance speech last night at the RNC as vice president. Farah Siddiqui reports.
Newly minted vice presidential nominee Ohio Senator J.D. Vance struck a strongly populist and America First tone at the RNC.
President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. A country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next vice president of the United States of America.
On a day devoted to foreign policy and national security, the GOP shift came into focus. Vance famously once said he doesn't care what happens to Ukraine, and in the Senate he voted against aid to the country. But support for Israel's war is extremely high, with many saying the nation would be justified in reoccupying Gaza and cleansing it of the Palestinian population. Annabelle Rutledge, with a pro-Israel group at the convention, Concerned Women for America, says as tragic as the civilian deaths may be, they are to be expected during a war.
There's a devastation that happens when war happens.
I'm Farah Siddiqui for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
Israel's far-right national security minister visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque today, a move seen as a provocation to Muslims. Itamar Ben-Gvir, an ultra-nationalist settler, later said he went to the Jerusalem hilltop to pray for the return of hostages, but without a reckless deal, without surrendering. The move by Ben-Gvir threatens to disrupt sensitive talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire in the 9-month-old Israel-Hamas war. Meanwhile, at the UN Security Council Wednesday, spokesperson for Secretary General warned Gaza's food system is on the verge of collapse. Courtney Rattray's warning comes a week after a panel of UN experts said famine has hit across the Gaza Strip.
The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Partnership reports that almost 500,000 people face catastrophic levels of food insecurity. Communicable diseases are on the rise.
Meanwhile, Israeli lawmakers in the Knesset have passed a resolution opposing Palestinian statehood, the vote 68-9. Members of the far-right government have pushed for resettling parts of the Gaza Strip. The vote comes as an increasing number of European nations have voted to recognize Palestine as a nation-state. France's newly elected leftist coalition has vowed to join Ireland, Norway, and Spain in doing so. At least 16 students in Bangladesh have been killed in days of protests over a system of allocating government jobs. Media reports say students clash with police, leaving 10 dead today. 6 were killed Tuesday. They've been demonstrating for weeks against a quota system for government jobs they say favors allies of the ruling party. I'm Christina Onestad reporting for Pacifica Radio.